My name is Lita Boylan. I'm an LPN and a CHES. I worked as an agency nurse in the psych hospital at North Central Healthcare in Wausau, Wisconsin from 2017 until December of last year. North Central is a taxpayer-funded facility. On the adult unit in 2017, I had a 19-year-old trans-identified female patient who had already had a double mastectomy and who nearly bled out because testosterone caused her ovaries to become polycystic, and then they virtually exploded.
You're not even going to believe what I'm about to bring you today. Medical professionals pushing back on gender-affirming care. These videos I'm about to bring you are just mind-blowing.
Many days, every single minor female patient was trans-identified. It was unusual for us to have no trans patients on a given day. In other words, they come in, say that they're suicidal, and we say, gosh, we shouldn't discuss that unless you're trans, in which case we have to do whatever you say. Medicaid fraud was commonplace. It was openly discussed during rounding.
Wow.
My minor patients, who were as young as 11 years old, would frequently change their names and pronouns. This was always kept a secret from parents. Clinical, educational, medical, and mental health professionals of perceived authority who had already proven that they could override the wishes of the child's parents were now also in the business of hiding things from parents. There is no acknowledgement on the part of the administrators that affirming a cross-sex gender identity in children is not a psychologically neutral act. It starts another unstoppable cascade of intervention, but this one ends in permanent sterility, disrupted endocrine systems.
The transgender whatever they are, activist community, are lying to you.
I had been a therapist at Multicare Hospital in Washington State for about 5 years. In March of 2023, I had a client come in, a female client, and say that they identified as a wounded male dog. And I had heard people come in before and say, like, I feel like I'm actually transgender. And I just had kind of treated them the way I treated any other client. But at this point, when this client came in and said that, I was like, at what point is someone's identity actually a mental illness? And so I emailed my boss, I emailed my colleagues, and I said, hey, I had a client come in and say that they identified as a wounded male dog. They said, you just basically say, awesome, I'm glad you know who you are, and you continue to be a therapist. Like, I would Google, like, what are the dangers of gender affirming care? And the results would be like, how to be a good friend to your LGBTQ. If I said things like, hey, you know, if countries in Europe are pressing pause on this, why are we mandating this of our clinicians now? They were like, you are doing harm to our patients, keep politics out of this. I was like, politics? Like, I didn't say anything about the president. Like, I don't understand.
These are effing children, people. And these are actually qualified healthcare professionals who went to school, and they're questioning, and then they're not allowed to question. What about this are you guys not seeing? They're being forced to believe something that isn't true. They're being forced to diagnose children as trans. They're being forced into it.